Radhika Bali is the founder and managing partner of JCSS Law with a total experience of 23 plus years in legal services catering to corporate commercial law. JCSS Law caters to large organizations as well as startups. Radhika, what a pleasure to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Dhruti.
So, how about we start by understanding your journey a little bit, Radhika?
Sure. So thank you for having me here once again. So about the journey. I'm a lawyer from Pune, passed out in the year 2000. For the first 7-8 years, I was working with law firms and in-house counsels. And I have been in self-practice since the year 2009.
Okay.
Started with Radhika Bali and then it became JCSS Law. Always centered around Pune as the home base as well as the base of the firm. But we've expanded into Chennai, Bangalore, and a couple of other cities in India as well as in Singapore. The journey actually started because Pune at that time did not have mid-sized law firms to cater to the corporate commercial world. Mm-hmm. And people either went to Bombay or they went to Delhi. And the only practice in Pune at that time was real estate and litigation. So it's the niche was there, and I was very keen on doing corporate commercial law. So I think that's the reason we could scale very easily into this city and then moved on to other cities. Today, we are approximately 30 plus people in 3 locations, and Singapore being our outside location of practice.
Amazing. So you saw a very clear white space. You knew that, corporate commercial law is not something that is being practiced or being aimed at even by lawyers. So you kind of just went for it. During our conversation before, we started recording, you mentioned that you work with startups as well. Can you just highlight some of the challenges that entrepreneurs face when it comes to the legality of having a startup?
I think the basic challenges are legal system. We have so many numerous laws that you may not find one lawyer who will be able to give you a list of the entire thing. Mm-hmm. So the biggest challenge startups today face is not a very simplified way of establishing a legal entity in India and functioning in a particular industry. I think the most important key for a startup should be to get a good mid-level experienced lawyer right from the word go, which kind of the consultant kind of clears the area for you once you focus on a particular industry, a particular city, a particular business model. They kind of clear the area and tell you what all it attracts. I think that is the biggest challenge today lawyers have, startups have. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're an entrepreneur yourself, right? Having experienced the corporate world and then moving on to starting something of your own. What were some of the challenges that you faced?
Okay, so in my part of the world, I cannot claim law to be a challenge because I'm a lawyer myself. Yes. But I think typical challenges of an entrepreneur from a tier 2 city, right? I'm not from a metro. I think the biggest challenge is the legal practice is not a friendly place for somebody to start off on their own from a tier 2 city. So there is no such environment created. And though I know firms and all talk about incubations and all of that, you don't find that penetration into the tier 2 city. So if one of the challenges I had is you have to learn on the go. So you're making mistakes, you're paying for those mistakes in some way, but you're learning, right? And I think that when I look at from when I started 20 years ago, if I look at what kind of environment is today available, I think the journey could have been much more fast-paced.
Yeah.
Finding the right balance between, because I don't play the women card so much generally, but I also know that when you have home affairs as a part of your life, major part of your life, the right balance is extremely difficult in this profession. So I feel very blessed and lucky that I had the kind of support system that I could pursue this. It's not easy when you have broad terms home affairs. And I think third challenge is a challenge common for everybody: scale. Your scale is something that in this profession comes after 20-25 years. So to sustain, survive for 20-25 years, have your kids are in college, your kids are probably even looking to get married, and that's when you're picking up. So that's a very long journey for a scale to establish. I think these are the typical challenges that one faces. Yeah.
I think what you're also saying indirectly is that you got to remain persistent, because starting something of your own and staying committed to that, staying put despite the challenges that you could be facing, including, for women, it could be around motherhood and all of that. And you just stay put. And 20, 25 years later, if you have, the persistence, then you will see the fruits of that, right?
Yeah.
In terms of scale. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So you put your head down, you keep digging. You make a mistake, you get up, you learn, you look around, you find teachers in books, in people's stories. You keep on digging and growing.
Yeah.
You don't stop. And the beauty is then the success is guaranteed.
Yeah.
It doesn't elude you after that while. A couple of more gray hairs and a couple of years of success is guaranteed in this profession. So just dig through, just keep on it, don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. Absolutely. You also mentioned something around the challenges that you would face coming from a tier two city. What were those like for you, Radhika?
So one is India, if you see as in the last 30 years, right? India was divided in a continent where you have the metros and then you had the rural. The urbanization or the urban city syndrome has something that has come only in the last 20, 30 years.
Right.
Therefore, the recognition at an international plateau. I'll give an example that if you have a very, very complex legal issue faced by the big corporations in the country, nobody really thinks of going to a lawyer in Nasik or Nagpur. You tend to go to a Bombay or a Delhi. So
Yeah.
what's that? The second, I think, is something that our government can really do: ease of travel. Connectivity issues, right from your phone to your travel to everything. It's not easy. I think that is pan India. If they could resolve that for the citizens, you would have many more success stories in this country.
Yeah.
Right. So I think these are the couple of challenges that you face. Your connectivity is not fantastic. It's not great. Your travel is not as easy as it should be. We have a country like Japan, where you travel some thousands of kilometers in 2 hours. I wish we had that connectivity, So that's there. Of course, with the ease that came in with work from Zooms and Teams, that kind of has eased it. But yes, I wish the connectivity was there. And like I said, the tier two cities don't yet fora on the national level. I think kind of hurts the practice to grow.
Absolutely. So it's also this thing around perception that people would have, right, about the tier two cities. And thankfully, I see a paradigm shift in the way we've started perceiving, especially certain pockets of population. We see a lot of growth coming in from the rural areas, from pan India, right? From rural to tier two to the metros of today. Metros has its own set of challenges, as we're all aware of. And that's why tier two cities for a lot of people is a great sweet spot. Because, yeah, you were saying something.
No, it is because the gain of a tier two is we find fantastic resources in tier two. They stay with you. They are committed. You take a tier two resource, give them a national importance matter to handle, they will be loyal to you for life. So I think there are these positives that are coming out.
Yeah.
That I wish it was there 30 years ago.
Yes, I know. So, given that you started your practice in 2009, you said, if I remember that right?
2000 started practice, and 2009 I started my own practice.
Own practice, right. So, given that it's been such a long journey, right? And you've, of course, faced all these challenges. How did you overcome these challenges? One thing you said was, learning. Of course, learning from the mistakes, being willing to fail, finding the right support system, which you clearly had. What else did you do? How did you tap it within yourself, the internal resources to continue going and to keep, and to remain persistent in that sense?
Yeah, I think in my case, particularly, all of this came later. But the first thing was that I just was, and am till today, extremely ambitious. And I think when you are dreaming of breaking the ceiling all the time, and of scaling all the time, and it's not always in your revenue numbers or your valuation numbers, but it's essentially because you want to do it. You want to be seen as somebody who is a law house in itself, is a good practitioner. Then everything else falls into place. So for me, the discipline, the hard work, the keep on digging, keep on going, comes from this internal craving that I have.
Yeah.
And unabashedly believing and accepting that you're ambitious and that you want to do this. You want to be there who is at some point in time creating a story, a legacy for people to follow. I think that in my case, that's been more of a driver to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's essentially just accepting your ambitions. Um,
Unabashedly.
yeah.
Unabashedly. It's not something to be ashamed of, to be pushed under the carpet. No, it's good. It's okay. It's okay if you're not. Also, it's okay if you are. And then you
Yeah.
kind of pursue everything else
Yeah.
under the sun. Yeah.
Absolutely. In fact, I was reading this very interesting book called Unapologetically Ambitious. And it is, I forget the last name, but her first name is Cheryl. And she is an African American woman who became a first time CEO in CTO, rather, in a tech company. I forget whether it was CEO or CTO. It was some time back that I read this, but and she talks about exactly what you're saying. Is that first of all, accept the fact that you're ambitious, and then work towards your goals. Because if you keep thinking or downplaying yourself, or if you portray yourself as an underdog all the time, it's not really going to work in your favor. And I see that a little bit in what you're saying as well, is that accept yourself for who you are.
And also remember that while it may look like your journey, nothing can be achieved with yourself. So create a team at home, at work, and take people along. Take people along with you. You may do it a little slow. And I say this to everybody, it's important in this profession to play a test match. Forget the 2020 that the world again, not it's not even a one day. You take people along. You be that captain who is doing it for the team, for the country. I think that is something that is very important. I am blessed with the correct people back at home, the correct connects in the profession, correct partners at JCSS. I think that has kind of really helped. You cannot make it alone, and not a single person can do this themselves. So if you create those connects, build good relationships, invest in them, I think you will go a long, long way.
Yeah, and that's brilliant advice. But a lot of people actually struggle with that, with entrepreneurs. I've seen people struggling to find the right co-founder, having the right team in place. How did you go about doing this for yourself?
I think it's a little bit of two things. One is you believe in the good that exists in the people, and you do not give up on your impulsive behavior. And this kind of causes you harm and pain also, but you don't give up on what your core is.
Yeah.
At heart and your mind, if you're a person who's willing to give every new person you meet a shot at being somebody, something, someone in your life, you do have failures, you do have the brickbats that come with this kind of behavior, but you don't change that, you do find good people.
Yeah.
When you see a person, and this is what I always say, if you see a person, you have to think of that person as somebody good in the first sight, right? You see a person crying, your first instinct has to be to go and help. Doesn't matter what the facts is. You see a person laugh, your first instinct has to be to laugh. If you are that kind of an impulsive person who sees beyond, you do get blessed with good connects, good relationships, and then of course you invest in them as much, right?
Of course, of course. And I think, so, you assume good intent. And I think that's a thing in law as well, until proven guilty. We always say that. Uh,
Yes. Yes.
so yes, absolutely that. And what I'm also hearing is that, Radhika, you have a very clear set of values and principles that you abide to as well. And I think those have really guided you into making the kind of decisions that you've made. And like everything else, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly that comes along with it. And you just kind of brush it off and say, you know what? It's one experience. It doesn't define the rest of the experiences I'm about to have. So I think having that self-efficacy in yourself, and, having that very strong belief system would have really helped you, is what I'm sensing over here.
It has, in personal life as well as professional. And this is something that I did write down when I did come on this, is that, see, always do the right thing. Do the right thing in your profession, do the right thing in your personal life, do right by love. Actually, do right by life. If you do right by life, life will always do right by you. And it may sound as a cliche, but there are times where you will want to take the easy route out. But otherwise, the easy is also the right one. Don't do the right thing. And after a while, it becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, you know that your foundation is so strong. And we have, me and my brother both have our mother to thank for it. She's always done what is right in the most tedious of circumstances. So, and when we look at her life and we look at ours, we feel very privileged. So there is no choice not to do the right thing.
Yeah.
If you do the right thing, right happens by you.
Yeah. Is there an example or an experience that you can share over here?
Many times in the profession or personal life, I may not be able to tell you an incident, but I can tell you that you will always have a crossroad where you can push things under the carpet, or you can take an easy way out. And then you will have that, a little meek voice of conscience telling you, don't. Yes, you may lose everything, but don't. And there's no logic. There is no calculation that is mattering there. Every calculation is giving you a zero output, but you still do it because you believe that's the right thing. I think it's tough in the beginning. There are times when you do lose everything when you do the right thing, but eventually it just gets better. It just gets easier.
Yeah.
Again, no incident, but I can tell you that find the right thing to do. Teach others the right thing to do. You will always find life do right by you. So do right by life.
Absolutely. And in this age of instant gratification, I think we just need to have the patience to see things through.
Yeah.
And to keep that North Star clearly in sight, which will help you make the
Therefore, I say play a test. And be the captain who is looking at the team, who's looking at India World Cup.
Yeah.
Don't try to create your score. Your score will happen.
Mhm.
It will, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And listen to that inner voice, your gut, your instinct as you go about
And
it.
that is very important, because early on, when you don't, it's very meek. If you don't, then it kind of tends to disappear in the shroud of what you've created. But if you talk to yourself, if you connect with yourself, it becomes a very bold and a very endearing, encouraging voice. So even when you're down, it's the same voice that's going to guide you to say, look, it's okay. It's okay. It didn't work today. Let's try again. Take your time, but let's try again.
Yeah. Do you have any practices or routine that you follow in order to listen to this inner voice?
Other than talking to myself and thinking to myself, I wish I was a little more disciplined to have a routine. But I do meditate. I do meditate extensively, and I do, I do certain yoga practices around it. But more importantly, rather than approaching it from saying what kind of practice it is, start talking to yourself and connecting. So very early on in my career, in my life also, when I started off in 25, 26, I suddenly came across a time when I said, oh my God, I don't know how I look in the mirror. And that's a story I'm telling you, because I knew what I wanted to see and what I wanted the world to see, but I didn't know what I was. And I realized that was because I have kind of gotten away by trying to be what everybody else wants me to be.
Yeah.
Last 20 years has been about to clear my own mirror image to myself. And while it is not as pleasing as it should be, I can tell you it's very, very confident image.
Very empowering.
Yes. Empowering, very endearing, somebody you love to be with yourself. So that kind of shook me up, that you always need to know, without having a mirror, how you look in the mirror.
Yeah.
If you're able to see yourself as a third person in the mirror without having a mirror, I think you've achieved it.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, this is one of the things I've written in my book as well, where I talk about, when you look at the rear view mirror, let's say you're driving and you look at the rear view mirror, what version of yourself are you looking at? Is it the version that is shaped by the society and by the people around you, or is it a version that you want to be really? And I think somewhere down the line, we forget who we are. And I think you're making the exact same point. It's about finding yourself and rediscovering yourself, your abilities, your strengths, and I think acknowledging how powerful you are in your own way. And I think that really keeps us going to a large extent as well.
Yeah, and never letting it get to your head, right? Because
Oh, yeah.
in my profession, we are demigods. The day we become successful, when we have corporates and everybody lining up for advice outside the door, it's very easy to let it go to your head.
Mhm.
Remember that your end goal is to create a story for your children, and when I mean children, not your children, but for people to follow in profession to you,
Mm-hmm.
it humbles you. You have to know that you are just another speck of dust. You just have to be a good way of doing it, but you ultimately it is nothing. So I also do have a very, very good spiritual bent of mind towards it. So when you listen to something called the Nirvana Shatakam, you realize that I am nothing and nothing is me. So all this pursuit, don't let it get to your head. Be grounded. Like I said, play a test for the country and walk out.
Then
When your
walk
job
out
is done, walk out.
with your head held high and saying, I did my best.
And it's
Yeah.
okay if nobody else acknowledges or nobody else knows me. It's
Of,
okay.
of course. It's also about, what is your legacy as well, right? That comes into play. What are you leaving behind? And how are people going to remember you? I think I'm hearing a little bit of that too. That's, again, that just makes you want to operate from a sense of responsibility, no? Because then you are leaving a message behind for the generation who is following you. And what kind of message are we leaving
Take
then?
huge responsibility, right? So people ask me, what is it that you are doing this for? And I said, and I really thought to myself, and I said, I want to create a fairy tale because as a girl, what excited me was reading about Rapunzel and her long hair and reading about the dwarfs. And why did I believe in those fairy tales is because they were good ends, right? So what do I want to create is a story for somebody, godfather, to be willing to start your own law firm and take it national and international. If you create that story, if you create that example, then somebody else is going to dare do this.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Yeah. So I think creating a fairy tale good ending is a good way to leave the
Well,
crease.
I cannot. I cannot agree more with that. On that note, Radhika, just wanted to ask you if there is one message that you would give to entrepreneurs, and there are many that you've shared over here, but if there is one that really stands out for you and holds true for your journey, what would that message be?
Um, and this is true for myself, and before because of this, I can say it with clear cut affirmation that success is not external to you. Success is who you are on a daily basis. Okay. So you pursue knowledge,
Mhm.
pursue happiness, you pursue personal professional growth.
Yeah.
That is success. It's not a goalpost, it cannot be external to you. The
Yeah.
moment you externalize success as something else, which you are not, you are creating something to run behind. But if you believe that success is me, am I better one that I want to be tomorrow? Am I better than I was yesterday? Am I pursuing knowledge? Because knowledge is the only differentiator, right?
Yeah.
So if am I pursuing knowledge? Am I wanting every night to sleep a happy person? Am I happy with what I'm doing? Then that is success. Am I growing? Am I getting people along with me to grow? Am I ensuring that people are growing with me? That is success. So if that's the mantra that works for me, I am not somebody who I will be 20 years later, 40 years later, 50 years later. I am somebody who I am today,
Yeah.
right? So
Absolutely.
internalize success. If success is you, then it is guaranteed.
Absolutely. And I so resonate with this because I'm into leadership development as well. I'm a facilitator, and I share with my participants at times that I have a mental checklist. And for me, balance is a very core value. So my mental checklist at the end of the day would include things around work, personal life, and beyond, right? And as long as I'm able to check those boxes, I sleep with a smile on my face. And if I'm not able to, then I know I need to change something tomorrow in order to ensure that I sleep again with a smile on my face. So I love that. Success is who you are on a daily basis. And I think we all need to define our successes rather than going with a certain standard of what success is, which is set by, again, somebody who's external to you. So very, very powerful message in that, Radhika. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dhruti. Thank you
It's
for
been a
being the
great conversation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.